do surface embellishing, and I'm going to show you some of the methods I use. The surface embellishing subject is a huge subject, and I'm not even going to scratch the tip of the iceberg tonight. I mean, surface embellishing is really taking off with wood turning. For years I was like a brown and round type guy. I didn't want to know about adding colour, carving or anything like that. And then I found myself walking around the symposiums at the instant galleries, and a coloured piece would catch my eye. And I think, oh, that looks good. And I figured, well, if you think it looks good, why the hell aren't you doing it? So I started teaching myself and reading up, and started using dyes. I must admit, I'm not into carving. I've done a little bit of carving on this, but these guys that are carving flowers and leaves and stuff, I don't want to do that. I want to turn wood. I don't want to sit and carve it for hours off. But then I said that years ago about colouring, so who knows down the road, you know. But that's kind of how it happened with me. I got to realise that I liked it, so maybe I should be doing it. So I started applying colour just with a paper towel, just a simple paper towel. I'd get a bit of colour. I use trans tin, and
the water base?
no, it's alcohol. And just dabbing it on like that. And then I'd use a different colour and mix them up, and it comes out sort of like that. You know, as simple as that. That was the first method I used of applying it. Here's a bottle of the type of dye that I use. Pass it around. It's called trans tin. You can mix it with alcohol or water. I mix it with the alcohol. It dries quicker. It doesn't raise the grain like water will. So if you don't want to sand it after, you don't have to. But the main reason I use it is I don't have to keep a source of water in my shop. I don't have running water in my shop. So I don't have to keep a jug of water in there. This stuff doesn't go bad. And I do keep a source of this in the shop. And like I say, it dries much quicker. You put it on, I just put that on and it's dry. You can put a finish over that now if you wanted to. That's how quickly it dries. That's the main reason that I use alcohol. I know some people who use a powder dye. Is that the aniline dye? They say that's better. I wouldn't know because I've never used it. But you've got to use hot water and you've got to mix it all up and let it dissolve. This stuff, you just...
This is much better.
Yeah, you just mix it together and away you go. So
yeah.
That's what
I use the powder.
You use the powder, mate, there?
Yeah. It's hot water, just little bits.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pleased with it.
Yeah.
I've never tried with alcohol though, now I got it.
It's whatever works for you, you know. This is already a liquid.
Yeah.
You know, the bottle that's coming around is not powder, it's a liquid, and it immediately mixes real well.
Does it raise the grain with alcohol?
Not as much as it does with water. Yeah. I do sandbag sometimes, but for effect, not for smoothness. You can put it straight on and finish straight over it minutes later. I've never had any problems with it. So, as I say, I started with a towel and then I progressed to brushes, and I developed a little bit of a system with the brushes to get this effect here. It's very complicated. It takes years and years of practice, and you're going to have to sign the Official Secrets Act before you leave, so you won't go around spreading it around. And if you blink, you might miss it, so watch carefully. You take two brushes, you dip them both in your dye, tap off the excess, and give it some of that. Maybe a bit more blue over there. With the blue and the yellow, you get the greens. little bit more blue over there perhaps. So it helps if you're a little ambidextrous because you can do two at once. And because the colours are liquid, they kind of mix together and you get this mottled effect. I'll pass this around. So the large patch is an old one that I've done before, and the newer patch is what I did just now, and it's nearly dry already. You'll see by the time that gets back to me, we could put a finish on it if we wanted to.
Nigel, your dyes are already alcohol-based?
Yes. I keep them pre-mixed in here. I actually mix them in like a quart jug, you know, with a screw top plastic jug, and then I use these hairdresser bottles prior to application.
The alcohol is 50, 45?
I don't know.
No, I mean when you mix the two together.
Oh, well, you mix the amount of alcohol depending how strong you want the dye. It does tell you right on the bottle the ratio of the dye bottle, but if you want a softer colour, you just dilute it more with that. So I'll put a little bit in here and I'll add some more of that if I want a softer colour. It's really that easy. It's not complicated. If you don't want it so blue, you just put some more of your alcohol in there and dilute it. You know what I mean? You just dilute it down and it won't be so blue.
Where do you buy your dye?
I actually get mine at Burns Tools in Fall River. They stock it. Yeah, they stock those little, that's where I buy those little bottles. Yeah. Yeah. They've got all that stuff.
Where do you get the little bottles, Nigel?
Pardon?
Where do you get the little bottles? You call them hairdresser
Oh,
bottles?
these, yes. Is it Sally's Hairdresser Supplies?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they're like a buck a piece.
Are they new when you buy them or they used?
They're new. They're new. And you don't have to be wearing a skirt to go in to buy them. They will let you in just like this.
Walk a little silly, you know?
It helps. Do the old limp wrist, you know. But they have the nozzle there, the fine nozzle, which is good for getting it in a little cup on the airbrush. So then I progressed, that took me nicely onto the airbrush. I progressed to the airbrush. These are real good. I bought as cheap a one as I could find because I wasn't sure how much I was going to use it, if I was going to like it. I went on eBay, I bought the whole kit without the cool. They all sell them without the air cool for some reason. I think it was under $100. The compressor with the valve on it, regulator valve, and a couple of guns. It was cheap. And I've been using it for several years now. I've never touched the regulator, I've just left it as they tell you it comes preset, and I've never touched it. It's really noisy, can you hear it?
Pump running?
It's running now. It's really noisy.
Wow, it's awful.
So, you know, they're kind of user friendly. This one has a little reservoir here, and you put your dye in there. That's why I like those fine nozzles. I might put too much in there. That's all right. Just tip it out. I usually put the lid on because sometimes I get carried away and I'm doing this and it starts splashing out. So these are real easy to use. You press this button down and it releases the air, and you pull it back and it releases the dye. The more you pull it back, the more dye it releases. Takes a bit of practice, but so I'm getting just air right now. I pull the button back and I start getting a bit of colour. And it's just like an aerosol can, you know. You can write graffiti on it and all kinds of stuff, whatever you like. So I especially like to use this when I'm trying to get this sort of multicoloured mottled effect. Here's a good piece. There's pinks and blues, yellows and greens all around there. I think you get more like a cloudy effect using the airbrush than doing it by hand like I was before. I don't know whether it will come out too well on this piece of board. I usually keep a piece of board like this close by when I'm doing this for exactly what I'm doing now, test runs. I don't usually clean the airbrush between colours because I'm mixing them anyway. So I don't usually bother. So you can put it back to mist it a bit more, come back in.
You turn so we can see how you...
I'm sorry, I forgot. So it's like everything we do really, it's a matter of practice. You've got to go home and spend a bit of time practicing and find out how it works for you. You can see here I got two different colours, but here I've got that misty effect where it's full of cloudy by the two colours mixing together. I use that quite a bit, as you can see on this type of thing. I like doing that. So the airbrush is a very good tool.
Nigel, did you use any type of a conditioner on your wood before you do it, or you just
No,
straight?
I usually go straight on bare wood. Some guys put sanding sealer on. I would recommend doing that if you were doing something like this, where you wanted to colour one side but not the inside. I'd recommend that you put your finish on the inside to stop the colour bleeding through, especially on really thin work. If it was much thinner than this, you definitely need to put if you put a clear finish inside, put that in, or the colour might bleed through, especially on the end grain. But other than that, I go straight over bare wood. I also keep a glass jar where all my dregs go. And then I use that as well.
Sure.
That's just leftover dye, and I use that. I like the colour purple. I think that's the English in it. It's the royal colour, and it's kind of nice, a plum dancing colour. So adding colour to your work can light it up, I think. You can also move on from there. This one here, it's 1/16 of an inch thick or thin, and I pierced it. This is the only example of piercing I've ever done. I'm not sure I'll do any more. I use this tool, which I bought at the symposium. It's got a little mill end on it, and it whizzes around at 45,000 RPM, which is only a tenth that the dental drills that Bin Foden is primarily use. They go around 45,000 RPM. So this isn't as efficient, and it's a bit tougher to use because it tends to grab the wood because it's going a lot slower. And it doesn't cut as clean as well. I had to sand all these surfaces by hand after I've done it. It's just not going as fast. In a minute I'll show you how I laid that pattern out.
That sounds really hard.
I'll get into that in a minute.
Is that electric? It's not an air compressor.
No, it's electric, yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's speeding.
Why isn't it working? Oh, I don't know. Should work.
So again,
There we go. So that's whizzing around now at 45,000 RPM. It cuts okay, you know, it does the job. It was, to find out whether I liked it or not, it was half the price of the dental drill. So I'm not sure about it. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm not sure. You really got to go thin, which is okay. I like doing thin work, but I had trouble sitting there all that time. I don't enjoy sitting around.
How long did it take you to do that piece?
The carving, the piercing, it took me a couple of hours with the sanding as well. Yeah, it took a while. It didn't take long. I'm going to talk about this piece and then I'll show you how I laid that out. This one here is about the only example of carving that I've done. This was inspired by a trip I took on a yacht. We came into anchor one night down in Florida Keys, and it was at dusk, and there was a load of squid going by the boat, and they were fluorescent, they were pink. So that's these guys, and the rest is the water. Hey, artistic clearance, all right? So what I wanted to do, I wanted the squid to be a gloss finish, smooth and a gloss finish, and then I wanted the rest of it to be rough or broken up, as the seawater is. So I thought, well, I'll cut these, I'll lay out these shapes. So I made a few paper patterns and drew around them. And then I took a carving tool, this little puppy here, and I followed all around each shape once, each one. Once I'd been all around each one once, I went around each one twice until I'd completed it. By doing it that way, the lines radiate out following that shape. And where the lines from this one meet the lines from this one, the lines themselves make shapes. So you get a pretty good effect. I kind of liked it. And then I put a shiny finish on the squid, and I think I put just a matte lacquer type finish on the carved surface. But that's a piece of silver bell. Pass that around. It's silver bell. It's indigenous to the Carolinas, but that tree, which was about this diameter, grew in Abington. And Storm Irene knocked it down. Remember a few years ago Irene came along? I got a buddy who's an arborist, and he said, I've got this big silver bell tree laying on a client's garage. I'm going to get it off his garage, and then he wondered if I knew anyone who could use it. So we got it. We got it. That's a piece of it. So it took me a long while to do that carving, as you can imagine. And, but it's all right. It's okay. It's just another surface embellishment. I think you have to try these things to find out whether they work for you or not. You know, it's a little bit too much standing or sitting in one position for too long for me. But I do like the effect that I got from it. So it's kind of not sure whether I'll do any more, but we'll see.
Nigel, how dry is your wood before you start putting that dye on?
It's completely dry before I put the dye on. Yeah. I'll turn something, let it dry, then I'll dye it, and then I'll finish it. So I don't put the dye on until the piece is completely dry. It's usually dried and I've resanded it. Yeah. All right, so laying this out. Let's see. I'm going to use this bowl. First thing I did was take a pencil and give myself a line for the rim to make sure that's on. So you give yourself a line for the rim, and then some masking tape, and you put that on. You don't have to be too critical with this, but you try and follow the line type of thing. This one's the easy one. It's the next one that's the real hard one. Alright, so I'm going to make another mark that we'll come up a bit. Something like that. I'm not being too careful, as you may notice. And you mark that off. Like that. And this will give you that band halfway up the wall of the bowl. Okay, so now we've got this all the way around. You've got to imagine it's all the way around. And you take a hot melt glue gun, which I hope is ready. Yeah. Now, then you just, I call this drizzling. You just drizzle it on the wood, let it lay there.
What's that, glue?
Hot melt glue. These guns, I think I bought this one at Burns Tools. About 25 bucks. They take a 1/2 inch glue stick. I use it quite a bit in the shop. I use it for holding rings, segmented rings on face plates when I want to flatten them. I use it for jigs and stuff. And I use it for this. So you just drizzle that on in this manner. Just like that. And then you let it sit for a few minutes so it goes off. Now you have to be careful with the tip.
You tip it so we can look at it.
So it's just a drizzle type pattern. You could draw, if you're good with it, you could draw outlines of something. You could write your name. You could do whatever you like, but I just make a drizzle pattern. You've got to let it set up. Now when you apply it, you need to make sure the temperature is not too cold or it won't stick, and it's not too hot or it will stick too much. If it sticks too much, you can't get it off, and you've got to scrape it off, and that's better. So, yeah, that's set up. So then you take your airbrush. Let's go with the red. You can all see, right? Yeah. And you spray the colour that you want wood to be. And you can see that it's taken me years of practice to develop this technique. So we'll let that dry just a little bit. Jimmy Clues lights it off to dry it, doesn't he? Have you seen him do that? He'd cover a piece in wood dye and then he'd flick it with his lighter and up it goes because he uses alcohol right on the lathe. I mean, it's nothing and everyone's going, oh! Yeah, that should be good. And then you take a pair of blunt nose scissors. See, the scissors are sharp, but the points are blunt. And you just, where it crosses the masking tape, you just snip it. And if you're careful and lucky, you won't mark the wood. And this is the same method when I laid the pattern out on this, if it is a pattern. It's exactly the same method, I just didn't pierce it. Just clipping it where it crosses the blue masking tape. The thing about this is, as I say, if you can control the glue gun, you can draw patterns. There's no reason why you can't. Right. So I've snipped them. Then you peel off your masking tape. I suggest when you go past somewhere where you've snipped it, you put your thumb on the glue that you want to stay there, or your finger, just hold it down. So that's got your masking tape off. And then you just peel the glue off.
Nigel, why do you snip it if you're going to rip the glue off anyway?
Because I wanted to keep a straight line. The glue went over the masking tape. If I just pulled it off, it would pull it off.
Nigel, what do you have in the bottom of that base?
Nothing.
Is that a drop of CA glue on the very bottom? I see
I don't
a
think
shiny spot at the
might be.
base.
I don't know.
Oh,
I'd
okay.
have to have a look at it. I don't think I put anything in it.
Feature.
Maybe it's sweat dripped off me. Oh, I know why. Because you may want to add more colour, like I did on this one. You may want to add more colour whilst the glue is still in place. Yeah. Thank you, Bob. That's why. That's why I was careful to snip it.
You can't scrape it, Nigel.
Pardon?
You can't just scrape it off with a bloody knife.
I guess you could. It comes off real easy. It looks like it was getting a little hot towards this end because I'm having trouble getting it off. But the front end, it came off easy. If you get the temperature just right, it just peels right off. Like this isn't too bad. Big block there.
Did you try to put before while you're hot glue some wax?
Some wax?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No.
Maybe gonna be easier to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it may.
Yeah.
How did you get the wax off it?
This base color.
It would seal the wood against the dye, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to get the dye on the wood. It was covered in wax.
See, doing it this way, I've got the pattern there. See, I've got the pattern now.
Yeah.
There's the pattern. So I can go around that with my piercing tool in that manner. As long as I don't cross the lines, I won't get a big hole. If you cross the lines, the middle bit's going to fall out. But that's how I laid out that pattern. It's quite simple. We'll pass both of those around. The finished one is very thin, so it's a little delicate. So you can see on the bottom of this, really, the effect of that. I went all over this with a couple of tubes of that glue, and then coloured it, and then peeled it off. And I got my misty effect by mixing the colours, which I like doing. Inspiration from that, Hubble telescope. You see the pictures from God knows where all the gases are mixing up and stuff like that?
This is really nice.
Thank you.
Up close, it's completely different than 15 feet away.
Yeah, don't we all? We all look better 15 feet away,
I
right?
look better from 15 feet away, probably.
So, it's just another method of creating a surface embellishment. That's all it is. I thought it was pretty cool when I saw it, so I did it on there, and it worked out right. This one, I've done this with quite a few turn-ins. I leave the inside plain and I colour the outside. This one I just put a single colour on it, and then in a couple of spots I sanded it just to relieve the colour of it. Sometimes, most of my turnings I turn green. And if it's burl wood, as it dries, it crinkles and feels like old leather. But if you dye that and then sand that, you don't get the dye out of the valleys. You take it off the hills, but you don't get it out of the valleys, and that's a really good effect. I just haven't got any that I could bring tonight to show you that.
What's the finish on the big one?
That's lacquer.
Spray?
Loads and loads of coats of lacquer. And then cut back, working through the grits, starting at 500. I've got some wet and dry foam backed pads that I use. I'll go up to 2000, and then I use the rubbing compound for automobiles, and that just poof, lights it right up.
Yeah.
That really puts the shine on it. That's
Rubbing compound?
Yeah. You know
What's that called? I've never used it.
Called rubbing compound.
Like turtle wax?
Yeah, rubbing compound.
Yeah, so it's-
Get scratches out. Well, that's the last thing I did with it. I went over it with the rubbing compound, and you know, you just do an area and then buff it off, and it lights it right up. And then I went over it with the turtle wax, and that was a Jimmy Clues method. He told me to do that, and it works real good.
Yeah.
You know, up to 2000 with the wet and dry things, bucket of water, dip in it. Make sure you turn your sander off when you put it in the bucket of water. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
I don't have a problem with that, because this is my sander.
Oh, that's just it. I got one of those orbital ones that also goes round in a circle.
Yeah.
It's not a random orbital. It goes round and round, as well as doing that.
Yeah.
They're much better because they don't leave that little swirl. But they're pretty good. All right, so this one here, the bottom of it was the two-brush method, and the inside was the drip method. So I got a syringe, and I'll put dye in it, and I'll just drip it on, and it will run down the inside of the bowl. Move it around a little bit, and carry on like that. These are freely available if you know a nurse. I think you can buy them, can't you? From your druggie? Yeah. Well, my wife's a nurse, but if you can't get them, you can use these things, eyedropper things, eardroppers. You can buy
Pick them
them.
up down the beach by the door.
You can get them at Walmart, and they're really, really cheap. They're for diabetics.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have to buy them. My wife's a nurse, so
We might buy the box,
they're free. Yeah.
15 a box, and I think they're 10, 26 a piece.
Yeah. So, you know, once I got the dye down into the middle, I added a bit of yellow to give me the green, sort of swakes it up a bit. This one is another one that I applied using the two-brush method, and then I used the pyro pen to put some motifs on it, the little twigs with berries on. This is the pyro pen I use. These ones, they have a heat setting on them, so you can adjust the heat. They're a few dollars more than the plain plug-in one, but I'd recommend them because you can adjust the heat. Different density woods need more or less heat, so I think it's better if you buy that. Same type of thing here. I burned the lines in the rim of this and added dots with the pyro pen, bit of colour on it, and it's just enough to give it a rim, you know, to break up the wood.
Did you get the color, color it and then turn it, or did it?
Colour
Did
it?
you keep the color just on the edge?
Oh, I put it on very carefully. No, seriously, I put it on after I turned it. Yeah, I didn't mask it off, I just put it on very carefully. I think one of the important things with applying surface embellishment is to know when to stop, to know when it's enough. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can go crazy and throw stuff all over it and overload it with things. First time I put red on a piece of wood, as soon as it was dry I sanded it off. I hated it. but now I use it quite a bit. It's one of my main colours. Did you have a question, Mike?
Yeah, now this is transtints. Do they sit on the top of the wood or do they penetrate?
They do penetrate, but not far. But not far. They're easy to sand off. If you mess up, you can sand them off again. Yeah, they don't penetrate. Obviously, end grain, it penetrates further than side grain, but they don't penetrate too deeply at all. I think that's about it, really.
Nigel, did you say that you stained that green wood and then sanded it because you got a different effect? Did I hear that right?
No, I turn, most of my turn-ins, I turn green.
Green, yes.
I dry the wood, I re-sand it. On the lathe I will sand it to about 250, 220 grit. Comes off the lathe and I dry it. When it's dry, I re-sand it with 220, then I add the dye. I don't add dye until it's dry.
That rhymes.
Pardon?
That rhymes.
Does it?
You don't add dye until it's dry.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, on your, the tall one, the scrapings look like they're so concentric. Did you just use a single tool to do that?
Yeah, this is the tool I used.
Yeah.
And this is the cover, it's part of an old welding glove that I put on my finger because my finger was going numb by pushing on that, you know, and that relieved it a little bit, not much, but it did take a long
But
while.
it actually looks like you've got a multiple
It does, yeah. Funnily enough, that technique of drawing lines around a shape was something I remember doing way back in school, like when I was this age. I don't know why I remembered it, but I like it because, you know, like I say, the lines from one shape join another, and they form their own shape. So
I mean, it's very,
breaks it up a bit more.
it takes a little practice to do that.
Yeah. Has anyone got anything else?
Have you ever done any sandblasting?
No.
I watched something that was American woodworkers, Scott Phillips, and the guy that he was with the sandblast, I guess every other year, get a hot ring, soft ring, hot ring on the wood.
No, you get it every year. Early wood and late wood.
And it's, well, what he did was you kind of wash away the soft wood.
Yeah.
And the hard wood stayed. Sometimes you push right through it, almost looked like a skeleton.
Yeah.
And other times you just, it was pretty neat effect.
There's a French guy who does that, isn't there?
Yes, Pascal.
Pascal,
He's
that's
going to
it.
be in Dalton, Georgia.
Is he? Yeah. I like it. It's a really good effect.
It's really neat. He used like a shoe polish on it instead of a stain or a dye.
Yeah. Oak is real good for
That
that.
different effect.
I think he does a lot of work in oak, doesn't he? That's real good for that. Yeah. You're welcome to look at any of these if you want. Thank you.